Hey everybody, welcome to Ran Out of Talent Early Afternoon Edition. Also birthday edition. It's Greg's birthday earlier in the week and it's my birthday today. I'm 31. How old are you, Greg?
Just turned 32.
Alright, so you're not that much older. I thought you were like 38 or something.
Oh, nice.
Alright.
Maddie told me at the state champs on road that I was 40.
Oh, nice. Well, you know what? In my wedding pictures, my dad is referred to as my younger brother, so don't feel too bad.
Nice.
Yeah, so, well, let's get right into this and start talking about Starbuck, the state champs. First off, I would really like to sincerely apologize to my core group of Super Saturday electric racers. We were running on Starbuck time. It worked well last year. It did not work well at all this year. I got pissed off and I was taken out on the wrong people, all that stuff. And I didn't handle everything exactly right. And I have to apologize for that. It was just basically me butting heads with Jay, and people got caught in the crossfire. To be honest with you, I apologize. There's only about 5 or 6 people there that want to run Starbuck time, and sadly we catered to them instead of you, the core group of racers. So I want to say, for next year, if I do it, if it is a Super Saturday Electric Series race, it will be done my way. If it's not, if it can't be done my way, well, it just won't be in the series. And that is 3 rounds of qual points ran my way. You know, I understand a little track maintenance in between rounds, that's fine, but 4 rounds of rocket round, man, that just is kind of ridiculous. And the 4th round was really useless. Nobody did anything. I think Kyle Holmberg bumped Kyle Statsman out of the A main, and that was the only thing done for a truck, that
Well,
is.
we end up with, the people that change places because half the racers go home.
Yeah.
So,
You know, you racers shouldn't be like, well, it's 10 o'clock, I'm going home. The races should be done by then. You know, Starbuck time, yeah, it's funny and cute back in the day, but you know what? I've honestly have outgrown it.
if a race is going to go that late, I think it needs to go that late because there's 300 entries. Or
Exactly.
something like that.
Yeah, 100 entries. We had 101 entries. That shouldn't have happened. You know, the specialty classes kind of lagged it up a little bit, but then I sat there and thought about it in my head for a while. You know, it was a minute here, minute there. You know, the specialty classes probably only added about 15 minutes of lag time onto the day, which is not bad at all. It was just Jay holding us back.
Maybe from lag time, but then you still have to add up that there's 4 quals for each one of those,
Yeah.
and you have main times.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah, those. But I'm just saying, you know, okay, the quickest I got through a round of 15 heats was 2 hours and 20 minutes. And that was the last round. I've also come up with a new formula going on here. We're going to start this at the next round, but we will talk about this for the next round preview. I'll save it for later on in the show. But again, I'd like to apologize. And also, that one corner getting rutted out, especially how bad it got rutted out through the mains. I mean, I filled it in between 2 and 3, and it kind of held up. But that one corner coming up into the infield got really bad. It literally took about half a wheelbarrow load to fill it. But other than that, the racing was pretty darn good. It was tough. It's hard to make the A in most classes. It was good, tight racing. Great racing in all the A's. Do you want to go through results, or you want to add anything?
We could just kind of go through the results, talk about who did what.
Yeah.
So
We'll just do the A mains, because B mains, yeah, they were okay, but yeah, whatever. Craig Kruger won the 2-wheel drive modified buggy A main overall. He won the overall results, winning 2 in a row. The first A main, Steve Nelson was winning up until about the last corner.
it was the last corner.
Craig put a sweet move on him.
He
It
did.
was
Steve knows it. He just went
Yep.
wide.
It was incredibly aggressive, but it's a cool move to do in my book. Steve
Yeah.
went a touch wide, and Craig matched up rims with Steve and pushed it. You could literally hear the rims clap when Craig pushed him wide to take the win on that first one.
Yeah. You know, Steve had a great race, and he raced great actually all weekend for how little he's raced in the last few months.
That's the thing. I talked to Steve about that. I'm like, dude, you're doing great this weekend, and you haven't raced at all lately. And he said, you know what? I'm not going to force myself to race when I don't want to race. He says, if I don't want to be there, he says, I don't work on my stuff. I don't learn anything, all that stuff. So you might only see Steve at the track once every other month, but he's going to be tough to deal with and tough to beat because he's feeling refreshed, he's feeling happy, and he's feeling fast.
Yeah, it was fun to watch actually. I was able to watch Steve and Craig in that last race or the first race.
That was pretty good.
That was fun.
I was kind of silent for a minute because I literally knew it was a clean move. Well, not clean. It was aggressive, but it was legal. But I did have to think about it for that split second. But I'm like, nope. It was a great aggressive move that Craig pulled off.
I think it was clean. It was good. It was a good move.
It was. You just don't see that type of move very often, is all.
Yeah, I think, two-wheel drive open buggy was a different class. It was very challenging. This year at Starbuck, I think that new tire.
That Taser, Proline Taser, yes.
I think that really was, in my opinion, the tire to have. And then there were a few people that were still running the Impacts, and I think a couple ran just a regular hole shot. I mean, we had a wide variety of tires.
Usually it's just a double D's working. On my four-wheeler, I went to Goosebumps. Me and Scary were running Goosebumps or not Goosebumps, flip-outs. I always get those two mixed up. We were running flip-outs on the four-wheeler.
I don't think there's any doubt, though, that
those work pretty well, but Tasers were the
Taser, the older style hole shot really worked perfect on that track.
It did.
Now the question is, and I wish that I would have had a set, but I had been running a cut set of the M3. What were they?
Square fuzzy. Maybe?
Yeah, the square fuzzies.
Okay.
And I heard a couple of the people, because I'd had just a hair push.
Yep.
And I found a couple of other people were running M4s, and then just with the hole shot fronts.
Gotcha.
And I should have probably had a set of those. I think that would have got rid of that little push that I had.
Yeah. See, that is weird. You're right. That is weird for Starbuck to have such a wide variety of tires actually work. The Tasers were definitely the fastest, but you had a wide variety you could put on your car and get your car around the track. Usually,
you could run an Impact and a Rip too.
Yeah,
with
Impact
a little bit less
and a Rip,
steering.
or you could run like I said, flip outs on the four wheeler. You could run double D's. Double D's worked. They were more neutral. They were not the fastest by any means, but they were a neutral tire.
I think the truck tires were consistent, but the buggy tires, I mean, there was just so many different options.
Yep. Okay, let's keep going through this. Chad Lundahl took second overall. He got the tiebreaker over Steve Nelson. It looks like they both had a tiebreaker of 97. So I think it might go either into main times or it goes into qualifying times. Usually you don't have the tiebreaker being the same, and then the program goes into the second and third option after that. But Chad Lundahl won on the tiebreaker over Steve or he took second, I should say, on the tiebreaker. Steve Nelson took third overall. Oh, it took his win. That's what happened. Chad won the third, and it probably took that result. Okay, I got it. But both Chad and Steve had 198 points, and it went to tiebreakers. Dan Hammond, your new team associated driver, took fourth. Marshall Scary, your Team AE manager, fifth. Kyle Holmberg, sixth. Statsman, seventh. Weeda, eighth. Hunter Holmberg, ninth. And am I missing one? Go down.
Yeah, you skipped by Neil, actually.
Oh, yeah, I skipped Neil Fenice. Neil Fenice took
finished
fifth.
after Dan and between Marshall.
Yeah, Neil took fifth. Scary took sixth. Sorry, I don't have my glasses on. So, good result for AE. Not a bad result for TLR by punting at least one up there. You know, Chad was up there. I have to say, he drove beyond his buggy to get a second place. his buggy was not a second place car, and he just threw talent down. And
I still, again, I look at more of the tires. He was running the old school hole shots, I think.
okay,
And by old school, that would be inaccurate. He was running the V2 hole shots.
oh, the V2 hole
And
shots.
I don't think it was right, but
Yep.
I think he had tried the tasers and didn't like them, or
Yep.
I don't know. Maybe he was running something else. I'm not even sure.
Okay.
So I know he had tried a bunch of different tires, and I know he wasn't running the tasers. So
Okay. Yep. But yeah, he ran a pretty. And again, everybody in that A except for Hunter. Hunter had some electronic problems. He put a new receiver and a new transponder in. I don't know what the deal with the transponder is, but he put a new transponder and a new receiver. I hope he listens to my advice and puts a Spectrum cap in it. If you are running a Spectrum system, you may only need it one time, but a Spectrum cap is smart to run. But that's also why I run Airtronics. You don't have to run that Spectrum cap crap. Same with the Futaba and the KO systems.
I've had times though. I run Airtronics and
New Airtronics, brand new.
the M12,
Okay.
and I know on the AstroTurf I have to run one.
Okay. Have you ran the
I've
M12
never had
on
trouble
that?
on dirt.
But have you ran the M12 on Astro yet?
I haven't run the M12 on that, but even with the M11X, it was.
Yeah, they're different receivers going on, and there is a little bit of a difference. I ran the M12 at the state champs for carpet. 0 issues. I was running.
Oh, I haven't had trouble in on-road.
Oh, really?
That was off-road on
It
the
was
AstroTurf.
off-road on the Astro.
Yeah,
okay.
you run like an 8.5, but you're on AstroTurf just pinning it.
And you're creating all that static
Yeah.
electricity and all that other crap.
I personally had a few issues where I had to run them.
Yeah, it's the newest of the new systems. You don't have to run them, and again, except for Spectrum.
Yeah.
So.
But it's definitely worth having in there.
Yep. Hold on, let me take my keys off so I stop clanking them. All right, let's go through the next class. It would be Pro 2, I think. Yes. Pro 2. John Hutner won that one. Went down to the third A main. John TQ'd it, but and again, John Hutner had the truck to last. See, Hunter Holmberg took second overall, but he kept popping ball cups. He could have won that one. He replaced the ball cups, but he replaced them with the factory Losi ball cups and between Associated and Losi, their ball cups are garbage. You buy the J-Cons or the Lunsfords. I mean, it's that simple. But he replaced them, but he put factory TLR ones on, and he popped.
So they're not as good. The Losi ones aren't as good as the old school Losis?
No.
Oh.
Seriously, I don't know about Kyosho, but Durango, Associated, and TLR, all the factory ball cups are junk. They really are. I remember with the Durango, to even make them, they popped on so hard, like they were really hard to pop on, but you could literally pop them off with your pointer finger. And you had to kind of, even to make those work, you had to boil them, and they still popped off quite a bit.
Boil them? What does that do?
You boil them, it screws with the plastic a little bit. But yeah, that's one thing.
Well, I think the one trick that I'd always heard, if you're going to run the factory ball cups, is if you ever take one off, replace it.
Yep.
You can't, like, repetitively pull one off and put it back on.
Yeah, see, and that's the thing with the RPM, too. I don't know if the newest of the new RPM, a lot of people have been putting RPM, at least on Associated, I've noticed. But with at least with the old RPM, if you popped them off once, they were garbage. I don't know about the new ones, but I just say stay safe, run J-Con or the Lunsfords.
I've kind of played with both the J-Con and the Lunsfords, and this would be on AE cars.
Yep.
And I went to Lunsford's last year at the Spectrum race, and I haven't popped a ball cup since.
Yeah, exactly.
And I haven't replaced them either.
Yeah, there's, it's money well spent, and they're tough to get because they're always on back order. Because every time somebody orders a kit, they order the Lunsford or the J-Con ball cups. I actually had to get white J-Con ball cups for my 4-wheel drive buggy because I couldn't get any black ones.
Huh.
But
see, I like
they work. They're just ugly, especially when they get that dust stain in them.
the white. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, now I did buy the full Punisher kit.
Oh, so
and
you got the tie rods.
That wasn't needed. The stock tie
Yeah.
rods work great. You just need the ball cups.
Exactly. But anyways, Hutner won Pro 2, Hunter Holmberg second, Scott Schultz third, Chris Murch fourth, Chris Malooly fifth. It was pretty good racing between Schultz, Murch, and Malooly, but Schultz definitely was driving pretty well this weekend. Eric Larson took 6th overall. Eric Larson, he goes to Starbuck every year for the past 10, 12, 13 years, whatever. But usually that's the only racing he does. But I was really happy to see him this winter racing a Torque. He's racing a short course truck and a Mini Cooper, but hey, wheel time's wheel time, you know what I mean?
There's nothing wrong with a Mini Cooper.
No, there's not. I'm actually still building one for my daughter. It's like I get the ambition, I get through a step or two, I'm like, man, this is stupid. Put it down and start working on something else. She'll have a Mini Cooper by this winter to run a novice, so Dan Williams painted up a nice body for her. So, all right, that was Pro 2. So we'll go through modified truck. Marshall Scary, man, he has the truck to beat this year so far. He won this. He won at 5:10 too, didn't he?
He did, yes.
Yeah, this 2 wins in a row for him with the truck.
I think Chad won the first 5:10 race.
Yeah, Chad won the first 5:10 race, and then Marshall skipped Rick's, and then he came to the
Weeda
second.
won Rick's.
Yeah, and then he came to the second 5:10 race with that truck, and he did very well, and he did very well at the state champs with it too. It just works for him. He won the first and the third A main, and he won it by a substantial amount too. Chad Lundahl took 2nd overall. Yep, and then Neil Fenice 3rd. Craig Kruger ended up 4th. Steve Nelson 5th. Dan Hammond 6th. John Weeda 7th. Kyle Holmberg 8th. Hunter Holmberg 9th. And Brian Bowman 10th overall. Neil Fenice won A main number 2, your 3rd place overall. That was pretty good. He's always up there. It's just the track was getting a little rough and everybody was getting a little tired.
I think the trucks seemed to deal with it a lot better. The
Definitely.
buggies where it really struggled.
Oh, dude, I know what you mean.
The trucks felt good on the track.
Yeah, and we ran class order a little different this time. We ran mod first, and so we went fastest classes first instead of slowest. And I think that kind of messed with everything a little bit too.
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm putting the class order back to normal next round, or as close to normal as I can get it. I like to have the short course classes split in mod buggy and mod truck, so we don't have too many back to back, so we get enough marshals out there, whatever. Coming up next, we did the 4-wheel drive modified. Craig Kruger won that. He got...
It's 2 out of 3 classes for him.
Yeah. Can't... The first main, he ended up 3rd overall. But he won the A2 and A3. Joey Carlson was right there in 2nd spot. Marshall Scary 3rd. Marshall had a pretty good setup. I copied his setup, but it's just... I'll tell you what. I ended up 9th. Well, I'll go through this and then I'll give you a little story. Andrew Mowry ended up 4th. Jason Supri, first time with a 4-wheel drive buggy, I think, ever, took 5th overall, so that's pretty darn good with him. He was running that Avid chassis for the B44. You're shaking your head.
No, I'm not.
You don't like you don't like how I don't think you need one myself. Your winner, Craig Kruger, did not have an Avid chassis. You know, I don't think Scary or Carlson had one either.
No.
Then as senior 6, Lucas 7th, Damon Crawford 8th. I took 9th, and Hutner took 10th. All right, let me tell you a little story here. Joey Carlson would come around to lap me. I let him by, and then I would be on his tail for 4 or 5 laps, and then I would crash, and he would be gone. My car was just as fast, but what I like to see, but it's also kind of scary for myself, is you cannot crash a four-wheel drive modified buggy anymore. You not only have to be fast, you have to be consistent if you're even going to be on the lead lap. Or otherwise, you know, forget it. Really, I mean, modified four-wheel drive buggy, I like how it's become so competitive. Because, you know, last year at the state champs, you could crash 2-3 times in a race and still win an A main.
I think as soon as it happens, and we all know it's going to, it's just a matter of time, but when Losi releases a new car, you're going to see a revival in four-wheel drive.
Yeah.
And you'll probably, at that point, it's going to be the cycle. You'll probably see the trucks go away.
Yeah.
It seems like they kind of alternate.
Well, you might see the trucks. You might see Short Course die, which is 2 thumbs up.
I was hoping that already did die,
but
but whatever.
You know what? They're entry fees. But
good for you.
Another one I'm going to talk about a little later on the show about which class I might have to kill to make RC10 spec happen, because I'm going to have a limited amount of classes next year.
Yeah, we just have. I think you got to make sure that what you do kill, obviously, is something you don't have a lot of entries to.
Well, I got 2 I'm looking at.
So,
but yeah, four-wheel drive was definitely a lot of fun on that track, and by no means is four-wheel drive modified dead. Like, we had 12 of them at that last race.
It's doing much better
but
this year.
But it's not a club racer thing. That's not something you race weekly. It's something you race in a series. You race it once a month.
It's a lot of work to work on, almost like an A-scale nitro car.
Well, it is, but the thing about it is they don't need, if you build them right, I should say, they don't need a lot of work. I'm talking to a lot of these guys who are blowing out their diff every other race. And I'm like, you're doing it wrong. You are doing it wrong. You know, I'm still on the original kit build from February, and they're still smooth as butter. You know, I'm getting just a hair of crunch. Not even crunch, I'd call it. Just it's not as butter smooth as a kit build. You just got to build everything right. You have to take your time. You know, it's not like a B4 where you slap it together in 4 hours. You got to take your time, and you got to massage it. You know, Andrew Mowry, who ended up 4th, he drove well. His car was loud and crappy sounding.
He was running gear diffs.
Oh, he was. Well, there you go.
Yeah, he had. I heard. Maybe I'm wrong. I guess I overheard somebody say something.
Okay, yeah, running gear diffs too. That I would not recommend gear diffs anywhere ever, but some people like
his
them.
car was relatively fast all weekend, though.
He was fast. You know, I don't know about his car.
Yeah,
it's hard to say, but that's one of the things. I have never been a fan of gear diffs. The factory guys, your top factory guys, I should say, they're also losing on time in the track. Big deal. You don't have to work on it. I say, quit being lazy and do things correctly.
I've heard some people with the 22 run gear diffs.
I've heard it too, but I mean, your top TLR guy here is running ball diffs, so you might want to do what your top guys.
I don't know.
You're right there, but it's just one of those things. To run a modified class, car has to be right. And I don't know. I've never been a fan of gear diffs. I mean,
I've never tried one in off-road.
Yeah, well, in a 10 scale. Yeah. In an A scale, obviously they're necessary. Imagine having a ball diff in a nitro A scale car. You'd want to shoot yourself in the head.
The A-scale car in general made me want to shoot myself in the head.
No, they're fun. Then again, you got to do it right.
It's just a lot of work.
Yeah, it is. You're right. But we'll talk about that in a little bit when we do round previews or whatnot. So let's go to the next class. We had a lot of...
By the way, we just congratulate Joey Carlson there, a second place finish.
Yeah, Joey's doing quite well. Actually, I still got to get my transponder back from the kid. Flippin' kid's been racing for 3 or 4 years, and he doesn't have his own transponder yet. I got to give him a little crap for it. But no, that's fine. I just got to get it back from him. But let's go through some slash. Paul Boyer, he won that. No problem whatsoever. He just crushed. And then Scott Tulf took second, Al Lehman third, Emily Morris fourth, Eric Larson fifth, Molly McKinnis sixth, Frank Hennessy seventh. I mean, slash class, it's exactly what you'd expect. One person crushing, the rest of them, they're running stock tires, so that's difficult. Powder Puff, let's go down through Powder Puff. This Powder Puff was actually fun.
You know, this is something, I know we talked a little bit about not having the one-offs or whatever, but this is one that I think is cool for the state champs.
You're right.
Because you bring your families with.
I was just going to get into that.
Yeah.
The Powder Puff was the only one-off class I did not have an issue with. I liked it. They actually created this class so Maxine Wilson had something to run, you know what I mean? Because nobody signed up for Sportsman, and Maxine was left without a class, so they created Powder Puff. I mean, we've had Powder Puff in the past, but whatever. But it actually provided for some good racing too. Molly McKinnis, she won. She won the third A main overall and the first A main, but she had to win it on a drag race down the straightaway on the last lap of the last main against Emily Morris. She just had the horsepower. But Molly won it. Emily took second, but she took overall TQ, I believe. Madison Osted took third, Stephanie Hennessy fourth, Joanna Campbell fifth, Maxine Wilson sixth, and Avery Weeda, another Weeda on the track, seventh overall. That was her first time running anything, I believe. So that's kind of cool, seeing someone that
I think
young
the
out there running.
competitiveness runs in that family too.
Oh yeah, definitely. She's gonna be something to fear in the future if she keeps racing.
I think Weeda's going to have to get her on the track in the backyard.
Oh, you know it. She's gonna say, because did she buy that slash?
No, but I think they're talking about getting her something. They were looking at him.
You know, I think John would do better than a slash for his daughter. At least I hope he would.
Well, the problem is Duluth has a huge slash class.
That too, though. But
if she just ran novice for a while and she wanted to graduate to something else, she could just run slash. It'd be a good for what she wants to do. It'd be a good car for her up there.
Up there, but you know what? She'd be running slash, and she'd see like a stadium truck going faster, and she'd probably want a stadium truck, and you know how it
Let's
goes.
face it. If John wants to, if she wants something else, John would get her something else. So.
You know, it's the same with me and my kid too. My kid's going to graduate from that Mini Cooper pretty quick, and I'm going to be spending $1,000 just about every 2 weeks trying to keep the kid happy.
As long as they're interested in it, they can just, especially at first with John, the hand-me-downs.
Yep.
At the end of the year, instead of ditching one,
give it to the
hand
kid.
it to her.
Definitely. Next up, stock truck. That is another one-off class we had, and it was a full class of 10 trucks, but
I don't understand why we had stock truck and masters.
That's what I was going to get to. There was no frickin' point of either the masters or the stock truck. You don't.
I think stock truck's okay.
Yeah, you didn't need masters.
But don't run masters then.
You don't. Yeah, you don't need to run stock truck so many times. Stock truck is fun to race, but it is boring as crap to watch. It is horrible. I mean, the competition wasn't there. Doug Osted, he just crushed them. He TQ'd no problem. I think a lap over.
So is this Blinky stock truck?
I believe so. If not, it's what. These one-off classes, I don't want to say I don't care, but this was a frustration throughout the weekend. Everybody's coming up to me wondering what stock truck.
Well, as a state champ, I think it's okay to have stock truck, but there was no reason to have something else.
Yeah.
And if it's going to be a state champ race, I guess there's two methods to look at it. The only place that really runs stock truck is MMR, and they run open speedo.
Yep.
But then,
Masters.
if it's a stock class, it's a true stock class for a state champ race, it should be Blinky.
It should be.
So it's like there's two ways to look at it. You could say, well, the only people that run the class in the state
you know
is
what?
really at MMR, so run their rules. We don't even know what rules they ran, though, huh?
No, the people signed up for stock truck, and when I was signing people up for stock truck, I'm like, huh, that's odd, and that never gave it a second thought.
But you got 12 cars, right?
10.
10?
Well, actually, let's see. I had 2 pre-register. Let's go through the list.
Yeah.
But I had 2 pre-register. I'm like, oh, we're not going to run this. They can just run mod. And then all of a sudden we get 10 of them. It's like, well, whatever. We'll run them.
Oh, you got 10 cars, you have to run the class.
Yeah, definitely. But, and again, from now on, Super Saturday Electric Series is going to have solid set classes. And guess what? The only one-off class I'm going to allow in my series from here on out is going to be Powder Puff, because that was just fun to watch. If you get 6, 7, 8 girls sitting around the track bored and they want to race, set up a Powder Puff class, because that happens a whole lot more than people think. A bunch of girls sitting around reading books and whatever. Get them out there to race. But anyways, let's go through stock truck. Doug Osted crushed him. He did, no problem. Scott Tolf took 2nd overall. Brett Algren, 3rd. Brett still running, brushed, and all that. But you know what? I'm happy with Brett for the simple fact is he had a personal transponder in his truck.
He didn't have a frequency conflict this time.
Yeah, no frequency conflict. He was still running.
He did, but he was no issues this time.
Nope. Chris Malooly, I think he's an MMR guy, took 4th. Al Lehman 5th. Eric Larson 6th. Molly McKinnis 7th. Jay Campbell 8th. Brian Olson, my new brother-in-law, took 9th, and Frank Hennessy 10th. My dad let Brian Olson run his truck and stock truck to just get him familiar with the track, get him wheel time, basically. I think he liked that truck a lot. He was having a good time. Let's go down. What's next? I think it's stock buggy. That was our biggest class of the weekend with 21 buggies. John Weeda won the first 2. Kyle Holmberg took 2nd, but he took TQ. Kyle was fast, but Weeda switched motors. He did?
Well, he did, but it was the same motor.
It was the same motor. He was having a pull issue with one.
No, he blew a 3rd phase or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. But yeah, he was running. Wasn't he
shorted out?
Wasn't he running the 3.5?
Yeah.
That's something if we have time to get.
Actually, I can tell you right now, I bought the Kill Shot, and that was faster than the 3.5.
You think?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So the 3.5 has nothing.
Okay. See, I was talking to Weeda, and he said he doesn't know.
Yeah, I mean, the difference might be there in on-road, but in off-road it doesn't matter.
Yeah, John was.
Well, you look. I mean, Andrew was running Tekin; he was right there.
Yeah. I mean,
it's
off-road,
in off-road. It just doesn't matter.
Definitely.
If you want to make the difference on carpet, fine. People want to whine on carpet, fine. But on off-road, it
could
really
run
doesn't
a
matter.
Reedy if you want. Yeah.
Here's the difference. You need to know what you're running. If you're running a high torque RPM rotor, you need to gear it right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the difference.
You need to know how to gear.
As long as you gear for your combination, you're fine.
And you also got to set the car up too.
And if you don't know what combination you have, talk to somebody and ask.
Yep.
Don't go and say, I can't keep up and I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm so tired of this whining of people that one motor is better than the other and I can't race fast or whatever.
In on-road that's true, but in off-road it's not. Look at this way.
After talking to Weeda a lot about this
Yep.
and learning more about how gearing matches with the motor, and I've had conversations with a lot of different people, when it comes down to it, every motor can be fast. You just have to gear it right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you don't have to know how to maintenance it.
That's true too.
Don't just run it, throw it in. If you just buy a motor and bolt it in and run it,
it's going to
suck.
Yep. But yeah, anyways, John Weeda won overall. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, two-wheel drive modified buggy. John Wida won the best crossover driver award. I got to get him his trophy.
With a stock motor in there, too.
Yeah, with the stock motor in his buggy. But yeah, he was honestly his only one who competed this year, which kind of sucked. I was hoping.
I think we'll get more next year.
I think people are avoiding it just to kind of be a whatever.
I think you'll get more in the future. I think it was a cool idea, and
Yep. We'll see. I'll do it one more year. If I don't get more in the future, well, I just won't do it again.
yeah, I think it was neat. I mean, technically I was in it. I was just so far down it didn't matter.
Yep.
So I
Yep.
mean, there's people that were in it. Bowman didn't make the state champs for on road this year. He would have been
Yeah.
up there.
Well, Bowman didn't run mod buggy either. He ran stock.
And Andrew, he didn't run mod buggy.
Yeah.
But again, some of these guys, if they had been up for contention, they may have ran it.
Andrew could have been.
Andrew could have been. He was the only one that
I
could
think
have.
Andrew took like 4th or 5th at the on-road state champs.
Yeah, he's the only one that would have been able to compete with Wida in that.
If a couple more people would have shown up, but whatever.
And there was some talk, at the state champs that Tony Block might come
Yeah.
and run somebody else's buggy, but
Yeah,
I have no idea what he's doing. I haven't
has,
talked to him in forever.
Tony Block has zero desire to race off-road.
But for a weekend race like that, I think
Yep.
you could get him into it.
Yeah, maybe. But anyways, John Wida won it. Kyle Holmberg took 2nd. Brian Bowman 3rd.
Yep.
First time racing off anything in a long time. He's been racing his motocross bike. Andrew Mowry took 4th overall. You took 5th. Joey Carlson 6th. Joe Zer Sr. 7th. Damon Crawford, all the way from Tennessee, took 8th. Jabber 9th.
He's from Tennessee? I thought he was from Wisconsin.
No, Jared Mowry 10th. Yeah, no, he's Jason Supre's friend, and I think he grew up in Wisconsin, but he's from Nashville or something.
It's a long drive.
Yeah, well, he drives up to Jason's place, and then I think he spent the night at Jason's Sunday night, and then headed to Tennessee the next day. But that's the thing. Jason heads down to Tennessee for big races too.
Oh, that's cool.
Because they're like best friends, so they figure out races that they can go visit each other basically.
I like the setup with the U-Haul for a trailer.
Yeah,
That was a great idea.
and I bet it was dirt cheap.
Well, you think about it, you can get those for like $29.99
Yeah.
a day. Yeah, $100 for the weekend, and you'd have a U-Haul trailer that you could pit in.
Yeah, that is a great idea. Yeah, and you can haul them just
For
behind anything.
a big weekend race or something. That's
Yeah.
a great idea.
Yeah, definitely. I'm actually looking at pop-up campers to pit out of.
Be nice.
Yeah, no, all right. Now let's talk about Masters. Masters.
Congratulations, Scott.
Scott Schultz had the truck. Scott Schultz had a great truck, and he drove it great too.
Senior's the first loser of the old man division.
Yep, I think Scott Schultz could have raised his truck into stock truck class
He could have.
and won.
He ran good.
He ran that well. If you look at his times and you look at Doug Osted's times,
It would've been
they
close.
mirror each other. It would have been close. But yeah, Joe Zer Sr., my dad, took 2nd. He TQ'd, but he ended up 2nd. Bruce Stead took 3rd. Bruce Stead had a truck to compete up there, but a lot of traffic problems going on. I mean, you got people that are just about fall down drunk driving the class, and they can't get out of the way fast enough. But then he had Scott Tall 4th, Al Lehman 5th, Jay Campbell 6th, Eric Larson 7th, and Eric Larson 6th, Frank Hennessy 7th.
Hesh didn't run that class.
No, Hesh didn't, but there was a lot of alcohol flowing between, I would say, 3 of the guys.
It's Masters.
I know, but it's frustrating. It's so frustrating trying to run a program and people are fall down drunk. And Hesh took it a step too far, but I let him know, and I don't think he'll take it that step too far again. At least I hope not. Because when John Wida came out there and started recording Hesh's last race, I knew there was going to be an issue.
Yeah.
He was looking at some.
I didn't think it was possible to be at Starbuck and not be allowed to race because you were drunk. That was the first.
Because that's how bad it got. I was watching his eyes. He was looking at Brett.
He was at the wrong car.
He was looking at Brett Algren's car while he was trying to control his. It's like, oh man,
You should have just let the race go like that.
No, I can't, dude.
No, because he wasn't hurting anybody. The car was going into the wall.
The car was going in the wall, but it was ricocheting back into the
Somebody
line.
could have pulled his car off the track. He wouldn't even have known.
Yeah, that's true. But scroll down. I think that's it for results. Yeah, that's it for results. And check out the points on RC Tech. Guy's going to bring them up, but we're already running a little long. I got the points up with one drop, and it's looking pretty competitive. It's getting racy. You know, I can't even read that. We won't bother. But look under RC. Oh, there we go.
Weeda's in first.
Weeda's in first and Mod Buggy. Yep. Chad Lundahl's in second. Scary third. You're in fourth. Kyle Holmberg's fifth. So that's top five for that. It's getting pretty good. Weeda's got an okay lead.
Well, it's just going to be. I think. I'm pretty sure Lundahl's missed too many races, hasn't he?
No, not to be in the points. He's only missed one. You can miss two. And see, that's with one drop. So they both see. Weeda right now has 295. Lundahl's got 291 with one drop. So they're still competing. You know, it's the people who've missed. If you missed two races, you can't have any more drops. If you missed three already, obviously you're out of it.
So just a quick overview here. You got Huttner and Holmberg, the top two in Pro 2.
Yep. Hunter Holmberg.
Yeah. For Open Stadium Truck, it's going to be Chad Lundahl, Scary, Weeda, Holmberg, me.
Lundahl and Scary are only split by 1 point.
So, yeah, Kruger's just missed too many races.
No,
here.
Kruger's only missed two.
Yeah, but he'd have to show up for the rest of them.
He would have to show up for the rest of them, and he might.
Yep.
Four-wheel mod.
Marshall's on top of four-wheel mod.
Yep.
Sportsman's Brad Olson.
But everybody's out of the points for Sportsman. For stock buggy, you're in the lead.
Yeah.
Senior in second. Senior's 8 points back so far.
Where's Kyle? He's only raced it once.
Yeah, he can. He can't do anything. Pro 4, hold on, go up in Pro 4. This is kind of what I wanted to talk about. Pro 4 and Pro Light are on the bubble of just not being ran next year. They will go the way of A-Scale Electric and Monster Trucks in my series. We got Pro 4 is already on a provisional because last year they did not race enough to point out. Now, if they want to race in the series next year, they have to run the rest of the points, period. I can't keep patching together classes for these guys. The only solid class we've had out of all the short course classes is Pro 2. I'm done patching together classes for these guys, basically. So anyways, that's enough of results and points. I want to talk a little bit more about the RC10. I'm going to post a little more on RC Tech. I have decided to open up the chassis rule a little bit. You can run a black chassis, or I've seen pink or blue or whatever, but it has to be a tub chassis, and it cannot be the world's chassis. So you cannot have like a milled out chassis like the world's chassis is to try to get that lower center of gravity, and you cannot have a graphite chassis either. But there is no difference between the black chassis and the gold chassis except for the anodizing. There's not. So it's like, yeah, why not let them both in? But the shocks have to stay gold. The tranny has to stay 6 gear. The A-arms still have to be the short A-arms. The shock towers have to remain original, etc., etc.
I think the rule needs to be your box, the way it comes, right?
Yep.
And if you have an additional car, or you buy one off eBay, or you buy one somewhere else, right? the point is you're not using any parts that are supposedly going to give you a competitive advantage.
Well, that's everything.
Okay.
You
so
know what
there's
I mean?
your rule. Your rule's set. Everybody manages it as a group.
Because if you think about this, the only thing you can change for you not to have a competitive edge with the stock RC10 is changing the color of the chassis. That's about it. Because, I mean, if you change your A-arms, dude, that's huge.
I mean, that's the biggest thing to me, I guess. If we're going to run this class with the idea of an original RC10,
Yep.
the two things that matter the most is the 6-gear tranny and the short arms.
Those are the two biggest. Shock towers are big too. Also, I want to talk about the rims that I just received from JC Racing, not to be confused with J Concepts. Now, hopefully J Concepts comes out with something, because I received wheels that will work on the stock axles that fit modern tires. The thing that sucks is they took 2 weeks to get here. They took 1 week, because it took 1 week of shipping, but the PayPal works as a PayPal check, and that takes 1 full week to go through, and then they mail it to you. So you sit a week, you wait for your payment to clear, and then another week you wait for the rims to get sent to you.
That's really just not that big of a deal, though.
It's not.
It
You can
works
get
if we
rims.
have to. But you're talking about for a series where you
Yeah.
race once a month.
Yeah.
If you can't get something with 2 weeks,
And you know what? I might buy 10 pairs
and sell them to people,
and just sell them
Yeah.
if they need them.
it's just not.
You
going
know,
to be a
I'm
big
not
deal.
gonna I'm not gonna be a hobby shop by no means, but an emergency situation, somebody goes,
Yeah.
oh crap. Let's say somebody strips a rim,
Yeah.
and they only have one set.
My-
Well, I'm right there with another set for them.
You know, this is by no means a for sure fact.
Yeah.
But from the replies that we've gotten from J Concepts and emails, they have all but alluded to the fact that they're going to make a wheel that will fit modern tires.
And that would be awesome. That would be perfect.
But, you know, again, they have not agreed or
Yep.
released anything.
Yep.
But from replies and emails, the way it sounds, they said they were going to do something, and it didn't make sense to do something that didn't work with the modern tires.
Yep. If you listen to the Radio Impound podcasts about it, yeah, he was really kind of saying
He's going to do something.
Yeah, he basically says we're gonna do it, but I'm not setting anything in stone yet.
Yeah, I mean, well, they got to have something finished before they say it.
Yep. But we have options. That is the point. And you know what's awesome about this? I'm getting great feedback on RC Tech. And another thing,
The only problem I have with all this, because you've been getting a lot of feedback on the thread, but how many of those guys are actually going to run the class?
I think a few. I think it will be.
You know,
I
because we
don't
get feedback on Stock Buggy too, and then I show up and there's 3 people there.
Yeah. No, stock buggy's been growing, but you know what? I don't think we'll have 20 of them, but I think we'll have 7 to 10.
I just think the turnout may be better if we allow people to use. I mean, there's just in my mind, there's no. I know you want to spec everything.
I can't
But-
open certain things, but anyways,
If you allow people to use stuff that they own,
well, somebody could bring an old RC10. That's fine.
you know, but so
It's
again,
got to fit within the rules.
we've
though.
talked about this, and we've heard people whine about off-road, and then we go look at Stock Buggy from the state champs,
Yeah,
and you had D35s, D3s, Teakins.
I'm not opening. That is an
It-
absolute out of the question thing. Opening motors. I know where you're going, and I know you've
They're
had,
equal
They're not equal.
in on-road with a
Even-
dyno.
Even in off-road, they're not equal. It's a lot of what we had in the state champs too was driving. Weeda was flawless when he won. You know what I mean? You had to look at the driving too. And that's,
You're making my point.
yeah. But that's another thing. I can't open the motor because here's another situation. We were gonna in the Nitro Series. We were gonna allow one motor, and that was gonna be the Gen 1 Tekin Redline or something like that. And then we had a big group buy, and everybody at the last second dropped out, and made one guy that was setting up the group buy look like a jackass, which was horrible. But anyways, they allowed any, I think 10.5. I think it's 10.5 in short course buggy. I'm not exactly sure. I should have been more mind present when they made the rules. I wish I had been, because honestly at that time I really didn't care about short course buggy as just a third class for most of the nitro guys. Well, we have the situation now is they screwed up. They opened the motors. Now we have allegations of cheating because you got one guy using a D3.5 10.5, and then you got another guy using a Gen 1 Tekin Redline 10.5. Well, guess what? That Tekin Redline is going to get smoked every time.
I think if you gear it right, I think you keep up.
Well, if you gear it right, whatever. But see, I don't want those damn allegations going on. I don't want them. It's bad. And then now we got this another thing. People are like, well, why don't you open this up, that up, this up? Well, guess what? Now we got an issue. We kind of opened up the shock rule to put better shocks on, but not big bore. Well, Trevor Johnson has those big bypasses on his truck, or on his short course buggy. Well, what's that doing for you? That's creating the big bore experience. You know, if you want a spec class, you have one car, one motor, one speed control, one battery. And that's another thing too, the battery. There's supposed to be one battery or two batteries. Well, they opened it up to a whole list of acceptable batteries. Well, guess what? I can pick one out of there that's going to crush the rest of them. See, that's, you can't have multiples. I've been watching it happen. I've been watching it happen in real life situations, not just on paper. This is not a just on paper situation. And guess what? You're spending the money. And that's another thing with speed controllers too. You know this for a fact too. Blinky is not the same with every speed controller. You know that for a fact too. Out of, let's say, in between a Hobby Wing V3.1 and Blinky, you can get a little bit more out of the, I don't know, Hobby Wing just stock, the one I want to run in the RC10. You can. You can tweak everything to get that little bit more. And I kind of want to cut the head off that.
You know, I agree that you can view those differences, but even on road, they're minimal differences.
But they're visible enough, especially with the spec tire. That's another thing with the stock buggy. You had an open tire rule with the 17.5 buggy.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? If you don't have those M4 tasers, which a lot of people did in the buggy, you're not going to win. Well, if you put on spec tires, and the motor situation will become more apparent if you open up the motor. It will. It's just better to have one of everything. And guess what? When people come sign up for the class and they bring me their buggy, I don't have to have a dictionary of what a Blinky speed controller does. You know, every Blinky speed controller blinks a certain way.
The idea behind it is good, and I understand where you're coming from, and I agree with it to a degree. It's just the only problem I see with it is, are we limiting things to a degree that are going to prevent the numbers that we need to run the class?
Well, I hope not. I really hope not. It's got to be done.
That's why we need feedback. I mean, it's like you look at RC
I have
Tech,
been getting feedback,
but nobody says I am going to run this class. I will spend the money and run this class.
True.
I have not seen that.
That's true. I haven't either. But I think
aside from you
and
Menor, and I'm going to probably.
Bub is very interested in the rules that I have set forth. Everybody loves the spec tire. I hit a home run with that.
Nobody's going to complain about a spec tire.
Everybody likes the one tire with an open cell phone.
In a stock spec class. Yeah. I mean, if you were speccing mod, even though I think you should, nobody's going to like it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not even going to open up the whole can of worms with the spec tire anywhere else. But everybody's, my rule is open cell, white foam.
So
So
any
you-
open cell white foam?
You can use Proliner J Concepts, or
I mean, how are you going to spec that?
it's got to be good.
Am I going to bring it to you before I glue it? And
You're going to bring me the whole car when you sign up for the class.
yeah.
You will, to sign up for RC10 spec, when you're signing up in the beginning of the day, you will bring me the whole car. You will not bring me part of a car. You will not bring me a car with a battery out of it. You will not bring me a car without a motor, etc., etc. You will bring me the whole car as you are going to run it, and I am going to say yes or no. And if you go by my rules, obviously it's going to be a yes. Because, dude, here's another true spec class. Look at the true spec Trinity cars up in on-road up in Duluth. That's still working. They don't even make the car anymore. They don't even make the motors they're running anymore.
I tried to run that class 3 years ago and I couldn't get a car.
Yeah. Oh,
That's a problem.
that is. But I'm saying, though, they still have the class. And it's still working well. They still have 10...
I was told that they could find a car for me, but they were like trying to call people, and it was going to have like broken
This
fixed
or that.
axles. And
Yep.
It's just it's that kind of stuff that drives me nuts about that. I mean, it's
Yep.
a great idea, and what they did was great, but that was where the Mini Cooper came from. Is it was supposed to be a replacement.
Yep. And it never was.
No, the class that they have is good. It's just you
But you
can't
get
buy
what
more.
I'm saying. Everything up there is so spec'd.
No, and it's good.
And that's how that's working.
But it's like that because Gary puts the work into it, and the club bought it.
Yeah.
The club did the group buy for everything, and they do the group buys for the batteries and things like that. And then the club bought the motors, and they have the motors.
I would really love to do a group buy for the motors, except I don't have the money myself to set forth. See, with the Super Series Electric Series, dude, it's just me working with the track owners, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a club. I
But
don't
that-
have committee members.
No.
I don't have this or that or this or that. It's me and me working with the track owners. That's it. And I get I get a lot of help from the Minnesota Nitro Series for letting me use their stuff. Okay, the computer just... Sorry. I thought we were dealing with a technical issue. We weren't. Because the levels all of a sudden stopped moving on the computer and all that. But, I mean, it's a different situation than the Minnesota Nitro Series. It's a little bit different situation than LSRCC. I have to look at it at a situation to where I can do it. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. But yeah, I just think you're making a lot of rules that are going to be challenging to enforce or administer. You know,
like I said, you bring me the buggy, and if everything doesn't match, you don't get to run the class. Period.
okay.
It's,
I just hope we
it's
get enough
literally
people to
that
do it.
simple. So do I. I do too.
I mean, I'm curious
and
who.
right now I'm looking at the SMC motors, but also I'm looking at a situation where the motor has to be so readily available, like that Hobby Wing Easy Run Pierce or whatever just stock speed controller I'm looking at. You could buy a million of them right now, no problem. You got. I'm looking at products that are ready available that anybody can get that nobody can bitch about. Because guess what? Go on, and I'll have links for everything set up. Go here and buy it. Period. It's simple.
I guess I'd like to see feedback on who's actually considering running the class.
You know
on
what? That's a
consistent
good idea.
standpoint.
I want to go on RC Tech, and after all the rules I've set forth have been put, I want to say, all right, who's going to really run this?
So when are you going to test the motor?
When I get a car built. When I finish building my car, I still got to buy a speed controller for it, which is $55. I should be able to buy that next payday. I should be able to buy it now, but I'm not going to because I'm a cheap bastard.
'Cause I know Menner's got a car built. I
Yes.
don't know if he's testing motors or not.
See, the thing about it is, I'm more looking at handling because with the newest, it's going to be in between a 13.5 and a 21.5. I can say that. 10.5 would be way too much. I'm looking at it as a handling standpoint because the new 6 gear in the new RC10, Cliff Lett said it could handle up to like a 6.5 because it's the same 6 gear. It's the same ratio, except it's redefined. You're not going to grenade it. They just mesh the gears better, basically. In the newest of the new RC10 that's coming out. They did a lot of redefining that's nice. You don't have to file down the A-arms to make them fit nice. They molded it correctly.
If it really does allow for a 13.5,
yeah,
the advantage of that is you're going to run into less cheating allegations because the cars are just going to be fast enough that people can't drive them.
That's true. And I'm going to test it. And
not that they can't drive them, but they're not going to be able to drive them to the limit.
I've always sat there and thought, I've never ran in a RC10 with modern tires. That is a big curiosity I have right now.
They handle well with modern tires.
Yeah, yeah. All right, that's enough on the RC10. I just got to say, the right people are giving me feedback, and also the right people think it's stupid. The people who think the class is stupid has also thought other very successful things that we have going on right now are stupid. So keep thinking it's stupid, guys. You're giving me the proper motivation. Some people want to talk about attendance at Minnesota Nitro Series races. You know what? They're going to be up this weekend. This weekend is Foley. They've been down. One reason, the weather. The weather has been flipping awful. And you look at a weekend race, and you look and you see 50% chance or more on 2 of the days, you're not going to go. You know, the weather's been horrible. Another reason attendance has been down is people aren't into the weekend deal right now. You know? What do you think?
I mean, that's really the only reason I haven't hit one this year. I went to almost every one last year. Yeah. And it was a lot of fun, but I just have a hard time justifying that I'm going to throw away 2 basically weekends in the summer, even if one's just a Saturday. Yeah. Just the idea of 2 full weekends that are pretty much destroyed with racing, it's hard to do. And from the Nitro Series, it was more work, so that's where it was easier for me to make that transition. I would rather race electric. If it ever ended up a deal where it was a one-day event, or there were examples of more electric type racing, I would be more interested in it. I still think it's a great idea. I think there's a group of people that want to do it. Yeah. It's just not for me.
Yeah. See, and for people like me, I grew up in the era. Well, I can't say there's always been weekend races, but my dad trained me in such a fashion that from the ages of 7 to 12, he would not bring me to a weekend race not because I was difficult to deal with, but because I sucked so bad that he did not want to waste some money on me. So when I was able to finally go to a weekend race, it was such a treat, and I've enjoyed them ever since for the most part.
See, and I could see that, and that's where I could say, this may not be a permanent thing for me.
You've always had weekend races.
That's all I've had. And you know what? My racing schedule has sucked since I left Duluth. Yeah. Because in reality, I can't, that was where Duluth was perfect for me. I could race every Thursday and every couple Saturdays. Yep. It was just, that was where my racing was. And I didn't have to travel to go to it. I could just race there. Yeah. And I don't have that anymore. And to me, there's no... I kind of hit on this in the last one. Is I wish there was a club race. There's I could go to MMR and race on turf. I could go to 510 and race indoor, but it's summer. I want to be outdoors. It's like I wish that somebody had a club race that I could do, and there sort of is one. If I want to go to Jimmy's, it's just that's an hour and 25-minute drive.
I can't say this for sure, but I think they've been running at 510 on Friday nights.
But again, you're indoors.
Yeah,
I'd rather be outdoors.
Everybody has been going to Jimmy's on Sundays.
I'll definitely hit 510 in the winter again. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. One thing too, it's like, if I decide to not announce the Minnesota Nitro Series, well, right now I could say I am looking at pop-up campers. And I don't have a problem going there. And I don't have a problem bringing my family there either. See, I think that's where... and it's a lot easier, too. When I'm hitting races to also where I can go home at night. If I can go home, like practice during the day on a Friday, go home at night, race during the day Saturday, go home at night, etc., etc. That's a lot easier for me than staying the whole weekend. I mean, I might sound like a little bit of a pussy here, but I miss my family when I'm gone the whole
That's
weekend.
the way it's supposed to be, and that's where I could say exactly the same thing. Is I don't see myself doing it for the full weekend, but yet when I have kids, if they get into racing,
Yeah.
that's when I would see myself doing the full weekend.
See, that's the thing too. You're just married. You don't have kids yet.
Yeah.
See, when you have kids, that makes it so much harder to leave.
Harder to leave,
Yeah.
but that's where I'm saying it
you
would have
feel
to
like-
be they
yeah.
want to do it.
Yep, you feel like a jerk because you're leaving on the week, like leaving on a Saturday and racing a one-day deal. That's no big thing. But you feel like a jerk if you're leaving the whole weekend and you're leaving the wife alone with the kids. That's a tough situation there. And then you feel like, and then you actually miss the kids too, you know?
No, I agree.
So-
And it's hard to do a full weekend, and especially as often as it seems like we run into them.
Yep.
That's where the Starbuck idea was the great thing for me. It was once that you
Yep.
had the full weekend, and I like that. I mean, you have
Yep.
one full weekend every year that you plan for.
Yep.
But then it went the way it did this year.
But I'll tell you
so.
what, yeah, the way Starbuck went again next year. I'll tell you what, the way, if, like I said earlier, if I ever run Starbuck again, if, that is a big if it's ever part of my series again too, it will never be ran like that again. Jay and I have to sit down and talk, and either I bow out, give the race to Andrew or Gary or Sean, and let them deal with Jay, because that will never happen again. But anyways, for the Nitro Series, I think half of it's been weather, and I think half of it's been the weekend deal. Because I know a lot of people who plan on coming, and they don't because they look at the weather.
Well,
and
I
they
think
say,
the first
I'm
race,
not...
the Motodome race, had a huge turnout.
Because it
didn't
was guaranteed racing. Yeah, the
So I think the
Motodome
racers are still there.
The Motodome had 146 entries, and that's because it was guaranteed racing. Now, if you looked at the forecast for what we had for North Branch, North Branch wasn't bad. It was 40% chance, but that's still a little iffy, and we did get rain. But if you looked at Rick's did not look like we were going to get any racing in at all. But we did. We got the majority of it in, which was surprising. But yeah, we're not. So, we're gonna see what happens with the good weather. We're looking at great weather this weekend, and we're looking at full throttle. So we're gonna look at attendance and see where we're at, because we haven't had a good weather weekend all year for both series. For both my Soda Nitro series, the weather sucked.
Yeah.
What do you do? I mean, you can't control the weather.
No, it's just going to be the way it is racing outdoors in Minnesota.
You know, this year's been especially bad. We've had really dry years the past few years, but this year has been really wet. So whatever. Attendance will, I think, start to rise again. Also, this is all questions off the Facebook page. Another thing about sponsor guys. Faster guys helping the slower guys. I'm going to make one little quick blurb about this. You make one little quick blurb about this, because we're running a little long here, but, I mean, not too bad. Sponsor guys, they are working on their own stuff, making it fast. They are more than willing to help you. Okay? So, but you got to find them. You go talk to the sponsor guys. Don't be afraid of them. They're willing to help. But, I mean, they're sitting there wrenching their own stuff, so you got to find them. What do you think?
I think the big thing is if you have a question, you just need to ask, because everybody wants to help.
Yeah, exactly. They want to help you, but they're not mind readers.
Yeah, I think they're not going to rebuild your car for you.
Actually, they might.
They shouldn't.
I know.
But
might.
You need to be able to go up to somebody and say, hey, I'm having trouble with my car. It just doesn't seem right. Can you take a look at what I'm doing?
Yep.
And see if I'm doing something wrong.
Yep. But this winter, Hunter Holmberg was having a couple issues with his Losi. Chad Lindahl and and Steve Nelson just came to watch, and they were only going to be there for like an hour or two. They sat down for 4 hours and rebuilt Hunter's buggy. Now you don't see that too often, and you know what? Don't expect it out of them. But I thought that was really cool to see that they took time out of their day. They were just taking a break from racing, and they were there just to watch a couple of qualifiers and all that, and they just sat down and they wrenched the living crap out of his buggy and made it way better. Still wasn't 100% right because he had so many things backwards on it or whatever, but they made it 200% better. They took their personal time and they wrenched them, which I think was awesome. Another thing, some people are talking about setups and what people are doing for setups. And what I say is spend the $3.99 and download the RC Setups app for your phone or tablet. It's made by a local guy, Tony Swenson. And you know what? One thing, you get PDF setups for free, but what's nice about RC Setups is you can store your transponders in there easily. Another thing is you can enter your own setups and save them. I don't believe you can do that with PDFs on the phone. Can you?
There are definitely apps you can use for it.
Yeah, but
it's not in the same interface. The RC Setup
Exactly.
interface is nice because you can save them and have different directories and keep.
Yep.
You can keep
changing
this
them.
setup for this track or this car. I mean, there's definitely a lot more flexibility with it.
I mean, it's worth the $3.99. He sold a whole bunch of them. The only bad reviews you see on it, why aren't there setups for Traxxas E-Max? Well, because Traxxas E-Maxes, for one, suck, and they're not a race vehicle, for two. He has race vehicles in there. And he's got some other race vehicles you wouldn't even think of, like he's got the AGMA, he's got Academy, et cetera, all the way down to your common associated, the Lozi. I'm going to give him a VTA setup for the TC5. I sold that this weekend, by the way. That was the highlight of the weekend, selling the VTA car. By the way, the VTA car was great. I'm just dropping the class. Big congratulations to Dan Hammond, your newest Team Associated driver. I think that was announced Tuesday that he was sponsored by Team Associated now. About time, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, he's been running strong for the last couple of years, and he definitely races everywhere he can. So
yeah,
it's nice to hopefully see him get the help that he could use. And
he is, in no better term, he's one of the biggest RC geeks in the state, and he wants to help you. He's there to help. He's there to run fast. He's there to be friendly and knowledgeable. I mean, he was a great pickup for Team Associated, in my opinion.
Yeah, he seems like he's always been really nice, and he helped when I went to the MMR race. He was really helpful with setups and things like that. And I've seen him go out to trackside and race. I've seen him. He kind of goes everywhere. He's been doing everything he can. So definitely a good kid and doing a great job. And it's nice to see him get something out of that. And I know we had some people say something about it, but there's been really a strong push of a youth group coming through.
Yeah.
And you've got your Kyle Statzman, Kyle Holmberg, you've got Dan
Hunter Holmberg.
Yeah, and you've got Joey Carlson.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of kids that that they haven't really been traveling, or they've kind of come out of different places, but they've really been doing strong here.
Yep. Like Sublime says, can't fight against the youth.
Yeah.
The smartest thing I've seen all those kids do is drop the short course classes, because I consider that kind of a step between novice and advanced, and they focus towards their buggies and their stadium trucks. That is the best thing anybody can do if they want to get better. And it's like, I'm not terribly against short course, but you don't learn anything from it, and you don't get better from it.
I don't know. I mean, I think you can do things with it.
You can get to a certain point.
I just don't think that we have the numbers to justify it. That's the problem.
We used to,
We used to.
and we used to have the numbers, but
But you wouldn't be talking about dropping a class if there
no,
were
I'm
20
looking at.
people in it.
I'm not looking at dropping Pro 2. Let's make that clear. There's plenty of two-wheel.
One of the short courses.
Yeah, there's 3 short.
If
course
there were 20
classes.
classes, you wouldn't be looking at dropping one.
Exactly, but you know
Or
what?
20
You know
racers
what?
in each class.
Also, it's not necessarily about the numbers too. It's about the quality of racing. And the quality of racing just hasn't been there for the Super Saturday Electric Series for the short course.
Yeah.
You got
And if they're going to buy a car and it's not going to be raced competitively, then why would it be part of a competitive series?
Exactly. I want more than numbers. Numbers don't mean crap to me, to be honest with you, because I'm doing the majority of this out of my own pocket. If I got 5 guys in a class, that is all good and whatever. I want to see door-to-door racing. I want to see awesome passes, which I do with all my other classes.
Yeah.
And, there was some pretty good racing in the Pro 2, too.
No, the two-wheel drive short course definitely has been the most competitive.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when you get
I'm telling you
like
what.
a 510, you get all those guys going. It makes a difference. Seth is definitely fast, and you get Hutner and
Yep.
a couple other guys.
I am making a rule change, and I will post it on all the forum boards and Facebook pages for Super Saturday Electric Series to make the day go by quicker. I'm going to have a sliding scale for how long qualifying is. The mains will stay 6 minutes. But if I'm at 11 heats or under, the heats will stay 6 minutes. If I'm in between 12 to 14 heats, they'll go to 5 minutes. And if I'm at 15 heats or more, they'll go to 4 minutes. I've talked to quite a few people, and they aren't, qualifying for that. They don't have their hearts set on 6 minute qualifiers. And if they'll get them out of there quicker, cutting a little here and there, they're all for it. I mean, what's your opinion on it?
So I'm always for making the day go a little bit faster.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously your point when you go to a race is you want to race.
Yeah.
So I understand where some people say, well, I want to get my racing in. You should.
Well, like Eric Swanson says, he wants to run his car 4 times in a row and go home.
Yeah.
Not possible, but you know what I mean.
I just, to me, I like for sure moving everything forward the way you have. Start
Yeah.
at 10 o'clock.
Yes, that's another thing. We are starting at 10 o'clock now instead of 10:45. Okay, keep going.
So that's 45 minutes right there.
Yep.
So that's huge. I think the 5 minutes is great.
Yep.
I think that's to me that's perfect.
Yep.
The 4 minutes, if we have that many heats that really make the day go that long, then
Yep.
then that's what it has to happen.
Yeah.
What the cutoff is, you're going to have to play with that.
The cutoff to minutes or
to win
to
you
people?
for rounds, heats. You said
Okay.
12, 14, whatever.
Yep.
If you're going to have to do that based on what you hear from people.
Yep.
What you hear from comments, or what you decide you want to do. I think it's great.
Well, pretty soon here, too, though, we're going to have to start dealing with daylight.
Yeah. And that's something to look at, and that's where I know I had mentioned something. Well, why not do 2 qualifiers? And I know a lot of people don't want to do that.
You can't do qual points with 2 rounds.
And then
you gotta
you're looking
have
at rocket
3
round
Yep.
again. And
I don't want to do rocket round anymore. You got to have 3 rounds to do qual points.
Okay. So yeah, I like it. I like anything that's going to make the day, because you know what? I want to make the day go quicker without feeling like everybody's rushed.
Yep, exactly.
And that's the point. If we can do
Yep.
things and still take your 15-minute break,
Each round,
or
like we
whatever it
experienced
is.
at Rick's, each round has to be like an hour and 5 minutes to allow people to charge, clean their tires, make minor adjustments.
yeah,
And I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not looking to make rounds that short, but I know how short. I know the cutoff,
the minimum.
the minimum, how long a round has to be. I'm just trying to make sure that we never deal with a situation like Starbuck again.
Yeah.
We're looking at a situation to where my last race at Wheel Brokers might have up to 120 entries. and we only got till about 8:30 to finish a whole day.
Yeah.
So we really got to move. And I was gonna do this by entries, but you can't do it
I think
by
rounds
entries.
is better. Yeah.
You got to do
Or
it by amount of heats.
heats. Yeah, I think heats is better.
Yeah.
Because
So
the entries really doesn't matter.
No.
It's off the heats.
it's off the heats, and you know what? That will make things just go. And it, I just want to after last weekend, I want to regain the confidence of my core group of racers. That's my main goal. I had an off weekend. I was held back by a track owner, and I mean, no excuses. It was my race, and I should have ran it the way I felt it needed to be ran. But,
Well, I think everybody that knows Jay knows kind of the situation.
You know what? If you come up to me and say you want to run a race Starbuck time, that is equally offensive to me as calling your wife the C word. I'm serious. That's the way I'm sitting right now.
Yeah.
It took me until Wednesday to get both physically and mentally right again.
It was definitely a challenging weekend, and it really did suck to have the day go so long. You're going to be there anyways, but the idea of still racing at midnight
that's not cool. You know what would have been cool? If we were done by 9 o'clock and we were able to sit and chill and have a beer.
Yeah.
When we were done with qualifying, I sorted the mains and went to bed. That's not fun for me. I'm doing this to create racing, but I'm also doing it to make it fun for me also, to be honest with you. I enjoy race directing, but I don't enjoy sitting there with my thumb up my butt all day saying, can I go now? Can we get this race going now? Et cetera, et cetera. I don't like that.
Yeah.
So, and again.
Hey, it happened. Everybody's moving on.
Yeah,
so.
I'm done with that rant. Another good thing, positive thing coming up, Wednesday, July 24th. And I'm going to call to make sure it's still open, but we want to get an RC group together for Pro Karts in Burnsville at 7 o'clock. Just something to do as a group, but not be at an RC track. I think it'd be a fun thing.
I think, that's something that I think is missing around the cities.
Yeah.
It's something that really happened up in Duluth was, you had a lot of people really get together, hang out all the time.
See, that's the thing. We had that at TCHR,
Yeah.
and that went away. And on a Saturday night, my wife worked at a bar/bowling alley at the time when we first got together and first got married. A whole group of us went to the bowling alley and bar and got hammered, and that just doesn't. You're right. It doesn't happen anymore.
People don't talk unless we're racing,
Yeah.
And it just, to me,
We need
the
that.
idea of doing the racing to begin with was supposed to be something to go have fun with.
Yeah.
And the racing is competitive, but that doesn't mean you should hate everyone you race with.
Exactly. And you know what? There are still small groups that still kind of hang out, but the groups have gotten smaller.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see. I know I heard from Kruger, and he was talking about doing it.
Yeah, Kruger was talking about doing it. Dan Hammond is in. Marshall Scary is in. Jeff Ford might come out and run a couple laps too.
Yeah, so it's fun. Has anybody found out pricing and stuff?
Pricing, I believe it's $13.50 for 8 minutes if you're a member, and I think it's like $10 to become a member.
Okay.
But plan on spending $40 or $50, which isn't bad. But you know what? A lot of people are like, that much for 8 minutes? If you're not used to running them, after 2 runs, you are tired. And Dan Hammond had a good idea. If this works out well, by the way, we did get one new microphone. We are running this whole program off of one microphone. But if this works well, we might be able to have some live ran out of talent interviews at the Pro Kart track next Wednesday, maybe to splice into our next show or something like that. That would be kind of fun too.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Because right now we're on a laptop and a microphone. That's not hard to move.
No, we're definitely doing better on some of the equipment finally.
Yeah, I went and spent $100 on a new condenser mic. kid at Radio Shack actually knew what he was talking about. The quality's
You
not.
just promoted Radio Shack again.
I know. I'm
I
sorry.
really can't stand that.
A lot of people can't stand Radio Shack, but to be fair, I spent $30 more at Radio Shack than I would have at Amazon. I spent $100 on this mic, and I saw it at an Amazon for $70. But you know what? It's one of those things we got. It's not 100% radio clear, but we're doing, I think, way better than what we have in the past 2 episodes.
No, it's definitely something that, I think we have a lot of technology, and this was easier to use.
Yeah, it's one microphone.
So,
yeah, one microphone, nice and simple.
I should say, I've been really busy lately, so I haven't done it, but I'm hoping to put this one on iTunes.
That would be cool. And I can split the cost with you.
Yeah, we'll figure it out, or what it's going to take.
It's $80 for a year. I'll throw in 40.
Yeah, we'll figure it out, though.
Yeah, but anyways, we'll try to get this one on iTunes. Let's do the next round preview since we're running low on time. I got to go home in about 10 minutes here.
All right.
Next round preview, July 27th is going to be North Branch. That is the rain makeup race for the Super Saturday Electric Series. This weekend, today, the 20th and the 21st, is the Nitro Series in Foley. Now, if you make one Nitro Series race, man, this is a race to make. I went this morning and looked at the track. The track's awesome. Sean did a great job. There's air-conditioned pitting. I don't know if you have to pay for it. I mean, if you got to pay $10 for the weekend, that's
he hasn't charged in the past.
He has, but he's off and on with it.
Yeah, I didn't get charged.
Yeah, some people do. Some weekends people do. Some weekends people don't. It depends.
I suppose that depends on whether it's going to be 95 or not, too.
Yeah. It's going to be air-conditioned pits, though. So that's a positive. That is this weekend. So then the next weekend, the 27th, is the North Branch makeup race for the Super Saturday Electric Series. Bring a not wide variety of tires, but bring your flip-outs, bring your impacts. Those are important. And always bring a pair of double Ds. Never leave your double Ds at home. They are your neutral tire usually, I think. What do you think?
I might stick to tasers from now on.
Tasers too. Everybody's got their options and opinions.
I've always loved the old hole shots.
Bring your wide variety of small pin tires.
Yeah.
And then after that is August 3rd. This is what sucks because we're back-to-back weeks for the Super Saturday Electric Series, but I think it'll still be fun. August 3rd is Proctor. Bring your flip-outs, your double Ds, and your impact.
It's going to be the same tires.
Yeah, it's going to be the same tires between North Branch.
The dirt's almost identical.
Yeah, North Branch and Duluth are pretty identical. Bring your same tires you would from North Branch as you would to Proctor. That's going to be Saturday, August 3rd.
You haven't raced in Duluth. All I can say is it's the best overall
club
track probably around. And
dude, that place is awesome.
Think of a supersized Pine City.
Yep.
It's a bigger track, but it's laid out nice.
Yeah, it starts out a little loamy, but man, at the end of the day, last year, we had a very light blue groove going. Not enough to eat your tires, but enough to get a good grip going. It was sweet.
AKA impacts were awesome on that track.
It was sweet. The third round of the main were awesome.
Yeah.
Then, I'll keep going. August 10th, we're going to be looking at the Benton County Fair race Sean Van Dalen holds. It's not a series race for anybody. Sean holds it. You run your MMR tires because you run it in the grass. Now that sounds lame. My dad and I went last year just to help Sean get numbers in. We thought it was going to suck. We thought it was going to be horrible. It turned out being one of the best races all year. We brought the proper tires. I brought Schumacher mini spikes for the four-wheeler. I don't know what the old man brought, but it's basically the MMR hard compound, whatever you run. We were hooked up right away. You had a giant crowd. We just about filled the grandstand. And The layout was simple, but it was fun. He had a giant kicker triple in the back to where you could get as much air as you wanted. But you could also drive it smooth. You could take it how you wanted it. It was just fun. It was period fun. And then you had the fair atmosphere. This year I'm only going to run one class. So I run my one class, and then I bring my kids around through the fair. You know, it is a race. You definitely bring your family. And then last race I'm going to promote, because hopefully we do another episode before then. The weekend of August 18th is going to be the MNRC race for Proctor.
Oh.
The weekend of August 18th. But hopefully we do another podcast before then. If not, whatever. But we'll see what happens. So, yeah, there's racing every weekend. So be there. Just be there. That's all I can say. Because it's all fun. It's all fun from here on out. So
Best time of the year right now.
Yeah, it really is the best time of the year. So closing out, because I got to go home and watch the kids, because even though it's my birthday, it's the wife's birthday too, and she's got dinner reservations with her family. So we got to get rolling. So till next time, I'm Joe.
This is Greg.
And we've ran out of talent.
Later.